Who's actually getting the most out of these ZEISS SFL 8x30 binoculars? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for a regular weekend explorer? Those are the three questions that keep me up when I'm scrolling through a sea of optics on Amazon. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks taking these compact binoculars from a city park birdwatching session to a backyard stargazing night, and I want to walk you through the moments where they shine and the spots where they fall short, so you can decide whether they belong in your bag. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have with a pair like this is the promise of ultra-high definition in a pocket-size package. On paper, 90% light transmission and ZEISS's T* coating sound like a recipe for crystal-clear images, but the real test is whether those numbers survive the hustle of everyday use. I started by slipping them into my everyday carry for a quick walk through a local nature reserve. The magnesium body is featherlight light enough that I barely noticed they were there, even after an hour of steady hiking. That low weight is a practical win. You won't end up with sore arms after a few miles, which is a common complaint with larger 10x50 models that some people mistakenly reach for because they think bigger is better. When the light hits a leaf canopy or a distant architectural detail, the T* coating really makes a difference. In bright daylight, the images were bright without any noticeable glare, and the contrast kept the edges of a bird's feather distinct from the sky behind it. The field flattener technology, which ZEISS markets as extreme edge sharpness, did show up when I panned across a flock of ducks moving across a lake. The center of the view stayed razor-sharp, and the edges didn't sag into a blurry halo the way cheaper optics sometimes do. That consistency is where the value starts to emerge. You get a truly wide, usable field of view without sacrificing detail, which is ideal for anyone who likes to track moving subjects, birders, hikers, even casual sports fans watching a distant soccer match from the stands. Now, let's talk about the situations where these binoculars feel a little out of place. The 8x magnification is a sweet spot for general outdoor use, but it's not enough for serious wildlife spotting in dense forest where you might need 10x or more to see a shy deer through foliage. If you're the type who spends entire weekends chasing elk or trying to read license plates from a parked car, you'll probably end up wishing for a higher power. Likewise, the 30mm objective lens, while keeping the whole package compact, gathers less light than the larger 42mm or 50mm models. In low-light conditions, think dusk, heavy overcast, or a moonless night, the image gets dimmer faster than you'd like. I tried them on a clear but moonless night to spot constellations, and while the stars were still visible, they lacked the glow you get from a 10x50 pair. So, for serious stargazing, you might look elsewhere. Another practical point that pops up only after a few uses is the focus mechanism. It's a central twist that feels smooth, but because the binoculars are so lightweight, the knob can be a bit too sensitive when you're wearing gloves or have sweaty hands. I found myself overturning the focus a couple of times while on a windy ridge, which forced me to pause and readjust. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth mentioning for anyone who expects a sit-and forget experience in harsh weather. Speaking of weather, the claim of clear view in any weather held up surprisingly well during a sudden summer downpour. The magnesium housing doesn't rust, and the sealed optics kept the lenses clear despite the rain. I was able to watch a distant lightning strike without any fogging, which is something I've struggled with on cheaper binoculars that let moisture creep in. If you live in a region where fog, rain, or even light snow are part of the routine, that resilience is a genuine advantage. So, who should definitely consider buying these? If you're a casual outdoor enthusiast who values portability, you'll love the compact magnesium body and the bright, high-contrast images in good light. Birdwatchers who don't need extreme reach but want crisp edges on every feather will find the field flattener tech a pleasant surprise. Urban explorers who want to see architectural details from a cafe patio, or parents who need a lightweight pair for a day at the park, will appreciate the balance of size and image quality. The price point sits a bit higher than generic 8x30 brands, but you're paying for ZEISS optics and a weather-resistant build that tends to outlast the cheap plastic alternatives that often break after a season. On the flip side, if you're a hardcore wildlife photographer hunting for elusive game, a dedicated stargazer, or someone who needs to read distant signage in low light, you'll likely be better served by a higher power, larger objective model, even if it means adding a few extra